All right, so today we're going to talk about finding a percent of a number. Okay, so this is that really practical example like we were talking about. If you go to the store and they say everything's half off, that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to be working on today, is finding a percent of a number. And there are a couple of different kinds of problems that we're going to do. So they each work a little bit differently. So let's talk about part of it. First, let's start with this. If we are if we're changing from a percent to a decimal, how many places do we move the decimal? You can say it. Two. To the left or to the right?
Right.
To the
Right.
left. To the left. Remember, Dr. Pepper helped us remember that. Dr. Pepper, percent to decimal, move it to the left. Okay? So if we have 55%, what's that as a decimal?
55.
Good. 0.55 or 55 hundredths. How about 6%? 0.06. Remember, two places, always two places, only two places. So 1, 2, we have to add a 0. 0.06. And then finally, how about 125%? What is that as a decimal? You can say it.
1.25.
Very good, 1.25. Okay, so just remember, always move it two places to the left when we're changing from a percent to a decimal. Okay? All right, now, that's going to be important to what we're about to talk about. All right, so this is on the cutout sheet that you have, and I don't want you to cut that apart right now. I just want you to keep it all in one piece. To find a percent, we're just going to translate from some words into some math symbols. And that's all we have to do in order to get this right. So if you will with me on your little sheet, if you will highlight these things. So whenever you see the word what are you going to put? An X. So what means you're going to put an X. Okay? When you see the word is, what are you going to put? Equal sign. When you see the word of, what are you going to put? Times sign. And you're going to make all percents into decimals. Then you're going to solve for X, just like we did in algebra. Okay? Now let me show you exactly what this is going to look like. So give me just a second to pull up the first example. And I want you to model this with me. Okay? It says, what is 45% of 60? So I want you to take your little pack of cards that I gave you. Take your little pack of cards. And we're going to do this together. Kind of lay them out so you can see everything that's in there. You see your little pack? Huh? Okay, so lay out the pieces. Okay, and we're going to model the first one.
This one?
Said that when we see the word what are we going to put? X. All right, so I want you to model this one. I want you to put your X. Oops, nope. Okay, you can just do this right on top of your paper. So put the X. What is X? Okay, just 1 second, okay? How about when we see the word is, what are we going to put then? Equals. Okay, so put an equal sign. So we have X and equal. X and equal. You with me so far? I don't think everybody's doing this. Did you get your little cards out? Get your little cards out. Okay, X equals, and now 45%, what's that as a decimal?
0.45.
Yep, 0.45.
We don't have that.
Well, I apologize. It should have been in there. I guess I left that one off. Okay, that's all right. So you can just write down 0.45. No problem. Of means a what? Multiply. So put your dot. And then 60. You do have a 60, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what we just did was we translated those words, what is 45% of 60, into a math equation that we can solve. Okay? So all we have to do now, go ahead and write it from what you just put on there. Write it on that line where it says equation. Write it on the line where it says equation. Should say x equals 0.45 times 60. Now to solve it, what do we have to do? Multiply. What times what?
45.
Yeah, so you can pull out your calculator. 0.45 times 60. Raise your hand when you have it. Right there, baby. Look. Okay. All right, what is 0.45 times 60? 27. Okay? X equals 27. Okay, so for this one, it says 35% of 20 is what? So, 35%, 35% would be 0.35. Of is what symbol? The times symbol. And then 20. And then is what? Equals. Oops. And what is x? How many people have that? Excellent. Okay. Now go ahead and write that on your paper. Write it on your paper where it says 35% of 20 is what? And then all we have to do is solve it. Okay, raise your hand if you multiplied 0.35 times 20. Let's see. Caleb, what'd you get? 7 equals x. We solved it. Okay, do you see how we took each piece of it and we made it a part of an equation? Does that make sense? Just one second. Okay, let's model this one with our numbers. I'm going to start with 5. Then what goes after the 5? Equals. 25% is 0.25, right? What is of? Times. And then what number is x? Okay. Now, here's where it gets a little trickier. Are we going to multiply to find the answer?
No.
Do you see that this is a different problem than the last one? This is the most common mistake people will make, is they think that this one and the last one are the same. But by writing it out this way, bless you, by writing it out this way, you can see it's a different, bless you, a different problem. Okay, so if you haven't already written this on your paper, write it down, and then we're going to solve it. Line up the equal sign, divide by 0.25. That goes away. We get 5 divided by 0.25. Anybody do that yet? 5 divided by 0.25 is what you should have. You got 20. And that's the answer. Okay, see if you can answer this one. So we'll start with 60 is means equals 5%, 0.05 of is times, and what number is x? And again, we have to divide both sides by 0.05. Raise your hand if you have an answer. All right, Blake, go. 120. You have your decimal in the wrong place.
12,000.
12,000 sounds correct. Remember, it's 0.05. 0.05. Okay, so when you go to work these, which you're going to be doing in a few minutes, The most important things are this. Number one, make sure you move your decimal 2 places, always 2 places and only 2 places. And number two, write out the equation before you try to solve it. Because the equation tells you whether you're going to multiply or whether you're going to divide. Because if you look at this one, because it says 60 is, that means 60 equals, that means we're going to divide. But on the first one, it said what is. So that means that our first, the numbers we're going to be putting together are multiplying and not dividing.